In a room full of people screaming for attention, the most dangerous person is the one who says nothing at all. You've seen them, the shadow in the corner of the gala, the executive who listens for 40 minutes before uttering a single sentence that ends the debate, the predator that doesn't growl before it strikes. We are conditioned by a modern world of noise to believe that visibility equals value, and that to be heard, one must be loud. But there is a silent rot in that logic. Most people are leaking power every time they open their mouths, desperately trying to prove their worth to a world that doesn't care. The silent winner, however, understands a darker truth. Your energy is a finite resource, and every word you speak is a withdrawal from your psychological bank account. There is an old story of a courtier in the 17th century who tried to impress King Louis XIV by boasting of his achievements for an hour. The king listened in total, agonizing silence, his face an unreadable mask of stone. When the courtier finally finished, trembling and desperate for validation, the king simply said, "I shall see," and walked away. That courtier spent the rest of his life in a state of psychological torture, never knowing where he stood. This is the art of the void. By the end of our journey today, you will understand how to weaponize that void, and why the final secret of the silent winner is the only thing standing between you and total psychological sovereignty. Observe the way a weak man enters a conversation. He's frantic. He fills the dead air with nervous laughter, useless anecdotes, and justifications for his existence. He is a leaky vessel. In the realm of dark psychology, this is known as over-signaling. When you over-signal, you provide the world with a map of your insecurities, your triggers, and your boundaries. You are essentially handing your enemies the blueprint to your own destruction. The silent winner does the opposite. They treat their thoughts like high-value assets. They understand that information is the currency of power, and they refuse to spend it on people who haven't earned it. Think of silence not as a lack of sound, but as a presence of tension. It is a vacuum that others feel an uncontrollable urge to fill. When you refuse to speak, you force the other person to confront their own discomfort. They will begin to babble. They will reveal their secrets, their fears, and their hidden agendas just to stop the ringing in their ears. You aren't just being quiet, you are performing an autopsy on their character in real time. This is why the world's most elite operators, the true architects of reality, never reveal their full hand. They know that the moment you are understood, you are captured. As we peel back the layers of this psychological armor, we begin to see that silence is the ultimate form of misdirection. While the loud man is busy announcing his next move, the silent winner has already executed it. There is a profound tactical advantage in being underestimated. If the world thinks you have nothing to say, they assume you have nothing to do. This creates a blind spot large enough to drive a revolution through. But this is only the surface of the power. Deep beneath the tactical level lies a philosophical truth about the nature of the ego that most people will never have the courage to face. Most people speak because they are terrified of being alone with their own thoughts. The noise of the world is a sedative, a way to numb the existential dread of their own insignificance. To be silent is to be still, and to be still is to face the self. The silent winner has mastered this internal landscape. They have survived the dark night of the soul and realized that the opinions of the collective are nothing more than static on a radio. When you no longer need the world to tell you who you are, you gain a level of autonomy that looks like magic to the uninitiated. We are approaching a realization that will change the way you view every interaction you've ever had. You see, the human brain is hardwired to seek patterns and closure. When you deny someone that closure through silence, you trigger a primal, incomplete task loop in their mind. They will obsess over you. They will project their greatest fears and their highest hopes onto you. You become a mirror reflecting their own psyche back at them. By doing nothing, you become the most important person in their life. You aren't playing their game, you are the board upon which the game is played. But there is a danger here. Silence is not merely not talking. If you are silent but your eyes are darting with anxiety, you are not a winner, you are a victim in hiding. True silence comes from a place of absolute internal stillness. It is the silence of the black hole, dense, heavy, and inescapable. It is the realization that most things don't require your opinion, your anger, or your intervention. Most things are simply noise. And yet, even this mastery is just the precursor to the final truth we will uncover at the end of this hour. A truth that explains why the most powerful move you will ever make is the one no one sees coming. Consider the concept of the shadow in Jungian psychology. The shadow consists of all the parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable, our aggression, our coldness, our ambition. Most people spend their lives trying to repress the shadow or loudly virtue signaling to prove it doesn't exist. The silent winner integrates it. They sit with their darkness. They don't need to bark because they know exactly how deep their bite goes. This internal integration creates an aura of dangerous calm. People can sense it. It's the feeling you get when you're standing near a high-voltage wire. It's quiet, but it's humming with the potential for total annihilation. This is why, in the corridors of power, the loudest person in the room is often the one with the least influence. They are the distraction. The true power resides in the man behind the man, the one who whispers one sentence in the ear of the king and changes the course of history. This gray eminence understands that to be visible is to be a target, to be invisible is to be invincible. By remaining silent, you stay off the radar of the envious and the malicious. You build your empire in the dark, and by the time they see the spires, it's already too late to stop you. We often mistake silence for passivity, but in reality, silence is the most aggressive move you can make. It is a refusal to participate in the social contract of niceness. It is a rejection of the demand that you explain yourself. When you stop explaining, you stop being a servant to the perceptions of others. You begin to realize that the more you talk about your goals, the less likely you are to achieve them. The brain releases dopamine when you talk about your plans, tricking you into feeling like you've already succeeded. The silent winner starves themselves of this cheap dopamine, using the hunger to fuel the actual work. They are building a reservoir of potential energy. Think of a dam. The water is still, but behind that stillness is the weight of 1,000 storms. When the time comes to speak, the silent winner's words don't just carry information, they carry mass. Because they speak so rarely, their words are treated as gospel. They don't have to shout to be heard. They have created a world where people lean in to catch their every breath. This is the ultimate high-retention life, making your existence so compelling through scarcity that the world cannot look away. But as we move closer to the heart of this philosophy, we must address the dark triad of silence: Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy. While these terms are often used as insults, the silent winner understands how to harvest the cold empathy associated with these traits. They observe human emotions without being drowned by them. They see the gears turning in the heads of their peers. They recognize that most human drama is a scripted play, and they are the only ones who have realized they can step off the stage and watch from the wings. This brings us to the threshold of the final secret. Throughout history, the most influential figures were those who knew when to vanish. They knew that presence creates fame, but absence creates legend. When you are always available, always talking, and always on, you become a commodity. You are cheap. But when you master the art of the silence, you become a rarity. You become the mystery that people spend their lives trying to solve. And in that search for the truth of who you are, they lose themselves entirely. The ultimate power of the silent winner is not what they gain, but what they give up. They give up the need to be right. They give up the need to be liked. They give up the need for the world to acknowledge their brilliance. And in that total surrender of the ego, they find a strength that is unbreakable. They become like the mountain, unmoved by the storms, indifferent to the climbers, existing in a state of perpetual silent victory. You are now ready to hear the final secret, the one that ties every thread of this psychological tapestry together into a single, lethal point. The secret is this: silence is not a strategy. It is a state of being.
The silent winner is not acting quiet to get what they want. They have realized that there is nothing the world can give them that is more valuable than their own peace. They have won the war within themselves, which makes the wars of the outside world look like child's play. When you reach this level, you don't use silence to win. You have already won, and therefore you are silent. The world is a mirror, and if you are still, the world eventually settles around you. The most dangerous person is the one who needs nothing from you. They cannot be bribed, they cannot be threatened, and they cannot be manipulated, because they have already found everything they need in the void. As you sit here now, feeling the weight of the quiet in your own room, realize that your power is not in what you will say next, but in your ability to never say it. The loop of power is complete, and the next time you feel the urge to speak, remember, in a room full of people screaming for attention, the most dangerous person is the one who says nothing at all.